morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by Particeep. I am Sultana El Jazouli, Chief Marketing Officer of Particeep, and we are so glad and excited today to organize this webinar about reshaping insurance distribution and client relations for a digital age. So to discuss this topic, we have gathered a panel of experts coming from different areas of the insurance industry. We have insurance provider, we have Insurtech, a digital sale enabler, a platform of knowledge, and a consulting firm. At first, we'll go through the agenda. We will be having at first a 10-minute keynote speech about digital distribution perspective. It will be presented by Hugh, founder and CEO of the Digital Insurer, which is a global knowledge and community platform that looks to collaborate with the industry stakeholders in order to simplify and accelerate the digital transformation of the insurance. This keynote about digital distribution perspectives will be followed by a 50-minute roundtable about the topic of our webinar, and it will be divided into subtopics. The first one, we will be speaking about the agent and advisor's role, and the second topic, it will be the tech enablers of distribution. So for this roundtable, we have great experts to discuss about it. And Vincent van de Winckel will be the moderator of this roundtable. He is a consultant at Clav 7 and Europe business representative for Particeep. So the panelists are João Paulo Matos.
Hello.
Hi, João. And I know that you have so many hats, and today you came with us with the hat of coordinator of the Insurtech workgroup in AFIP, which
Glad
is
to be here.
Yeah, thank you, João Paulo. Of AFIP, which is the Portuguese Fintech and Insurtech Association. We will be having again Hugh. Thank you for being here, Hugh. He's the CEO and founder of the Digital Insurer. Gustavo Barreto, Head of Distribution and Marketing Agents and Broker Channels of Ageas Seguros Portugal. Steve Fogue, CEO and co-founder of Particeep.
Hello, everybody.
João Cardoso, CEO and co-founder of Lovys. And now I give the floor to Hugh, CEO and founder of the Digital Insurance, so he can tell us more about some perspectives of the digital distribution.
Thank you, Sultana, and thank you, Particeep, for inviting me to this webinar today. What I want to do is just spend 10 minutes really to just get us tuned in to this topic of digital distribution, a really exciting topic. And I want to just briefly talk around how the consumer is at the heart of driving the changes that we're seeing in distribution. I want to touch upon something we call the omni-advisor model. I want to cover a little bit about digital first models and then a little bit on platforms. And I think these are key topics that we'll probably be discussing during the panel as well. And as Sultana mentioned, my background, I've been in insurance for 30 odd years. I was from the UK originally, based in Singapore for the last 20 years. And I set up the Digital Insurer a few years ago. And really, we have a very clear purpose, if you like. How can we work together to accelerate the digital transformation of insurance? So I'm here today because I really like the impact of digital on the insurance industry. And I love the opportunity to just talk and engage and learn more, not just from the panelists, but hopefully from the audience as well. So let's get going. We go to the next slide. I wanted to start with some commentary around consumers. And we developed this chart in April last year. As soon as COVID hit, we realized that we were going to see a massive change in customer behavior. So the blue circle here we predicted that consumers would jump ahead and go beyond a tipping point in terms of their adoption of technology. And of course, we have seen that happen. And then our reflection was simply saying that we know that the insurance industry is not the most advanced in terms of its use of technology. So the insurance industry itself has to step up to be able to just keep pace with these changes in consumer behavior. So the heart of digital transformation is a change in consumer behavior. And I guess if we go to the next slide, stating the obvious, what we know is that these long-term trends have been accelerated, and COVID-19 has given us a snapshot on a view of what a digital end game is likely to look like. And it means that executives around the world are aligned to say that business as usual is no longer a sustainable model. So a lot of work that we need to do. And if we can go to the next slide, we also did a little bit later in the year, last year, a paper building on changes in consumer behavior and talking about something that we call the Omni Advisor model. I'm going to just spend a couple of minutes talking about that. But quite often when we talk about distribution, we still like to think of it as a sport where someone wins and someone loses, right? And we quite often have a discussion that says, oh, I'm a believer in a physical sales model in insurance. And someone says, no, I think it's all going to go online. Well, the TDI view is actually, it's not quite as clear as that. We believe that what we're seeing in the fourth industrial revolution, and you can see it in our logo, is this merging of technology with humans, which means it's actually very, very complex and quite challenging for organizations as well. And when we look at this from the perspective of an insurance advisor, what does this mean? And if we go to the next slide, we try to articulate a development model where what we've seen is traditional sales agent being digitally enabled, moving to that second box. And we're seeing a lot of activity and a lot of insurers focusing on doing that. And we sort of see that as our red ocean opportunity, right? Everyone's doing it, we're evolving it. And in our white paper, we wanted to articulate the blue ocean, where the transformation for face-to-face insurance sales could be. And we call this the Omni Advisor. And by this we mean a digitally present advisor who's able to take advantage of modern digital marketing tools and engage in these emerging ecosystems as well. And maybe to just drill down on that in a little bit more, I've got two more slides, so we can go to the next slide. What we're really envisaging here is a world where we acknowledge that we're no longer in a distribution-centric world, we're in a customer-centric world. So at the heart of this, the bullseye is the customer. Surrounding that customer are many ecosystems and options for those customers to engage with insurance companies and generally in their lives. And we know that ecosystems are transforming the global economy. But what we envisage is an Omni Advisor that moves with their customers, allows customers to either engage physically or to engage in a branded asset with the advisor in a digital first environment, and moving the advisor from a role that traditionally may have become slightly over-focused on sales to one that's more rounded, where the insurance advisor can be more of a client relationship manager that you'd see in, say, bank assurance advisory roles as well. And then we have a little model, which I won't go into too much detail, but the next page really just tries to break this down. And what you'll see is the customer is in control. The customer can have a physical first relationship with the advisor, or they can have a digital first engagement via a customer engagement hub. And it's this customer engagement hub in blue that is the thing that we see as the opportunity space for most insurers. Standing back and saying, how can we co-brand an opportunity so that the agent has a digital presence, and the customer can actually engage with that agent as well as the enterprise assets the insurer has, to allow them to have a truly omni relationship. And I guess in terms of getting this done, the picture on the next slide really tries to say what we're doing here is kind of making the agent an Iron Man, right? Giving that an insurance advisor the modern tools and capabilities to allow them to not just survive, but to thrive in the digital world. So that for us is the blue opportunity space. We are starting to see this happen. And at the moment, it's not a mainstream activity. So the way we see this playing out on the next slide is it's not going to be a sudden change overnight, but what we are very sure is that the traditional sales agent role is in natural decline. The quality agent model is a new minimum standard, and increasingly over time, we think insurers will adopt the omni-advisor model. And in my part of the world, we're starting to see examples of this omni-advisor model not being applied just to traditional agency models, but also to some of these ecosystem models as well, who are also exploring how to deliver, how to provide face-to-face and deeper services to customers. And the next slide tries to give a little bit about digital first that we were talking about. So, you know, up to say maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we would be looking at a physical first world that was becoming increasingly digitally enabled. What we're now seeing increasingly are digital only models, increasingly digital micro in nature, selling small value but high volume transactions. And we're also seeing digital first models where customers are going and engaging with an insurance company, a broker, in a digital environment first. And there the challenge is, of course, that those organizations want to bring in the right amount of human into that relationship. So you can see here quite a complex picture, but one that is not simply a choice of either being online or just having a face-to-face model. And the other pyramid upside down just makes the observation around value. And it's inverted because currently a lot of the economic value still resides in the traditional face-to-face models as well. But that picture will emerge over time. And if you're an incumbent, you really need to look quite closely at what's happening in that digital first space, some of the new business models that are emerging as well. And I just wanted to wrap up by just focusing a bit on ecosystems and also how we see the sort of distribution landscape evolving. And this is a very broad directional statement. So we're in a situation where current distribution, whether that's insurance advisory or bank advisory, is going to be challenged by platform-based distribution. So there's a third leg that is coming to this distribution stool, and that's a good thing for the industry. We don't see either insurance advisory or bank advisory disappearing, but the key thing is when you look at this is the ecosystem impact. Existing channels will need to provide capabilities and tools to allow their insurance advisors to effectively participate and compete in these merging ecosystems. So we're very positive about insurance. We see growing markets and growing opportunities, particularly in Asia, where we have very low insurance penetration and typically quite high growth rates. So from an Asia perspective, this model is coming, it's coming now, and I think it will also be impacting other parts of the world and Europe as well. But I'm looking forward to kind of discussing with our panelists and getting their views on whether they think this is a model that's appropriate for Europe or not. So that's it from me in terms of the sort of intro, and I'm looking forward to being part of the panel today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh, for this presentation. For the moment, I leave the word to Vincent van de Winckel for moderating the roundtable about reshaping insurance distribution and client relations for a digital age. And please, if you have any question regarding Hugh's theories presentation or regarding the topic of our webinar, you can use the chat function below. So Vincent, you have the word.
Okay, well, thank you, Sultana. Thank you, Hugh. It was a great way to open our conversation and lay the ground for our round table. So Now, as Sultana well said, we have here a group of experts coming from different areas of the insurance industry. With them, we are going to talk about two topics. The first one will be the agents or advisors' role in a digital world. The second one will then be what are the tech enablers of this digital distribution. So I will start with João Paulo Matos, who has already been presented. Okay, just saying a few more words about him and about AFIP. AFIP indeed is a Portuguese Fintech and Insurtech association that aims at promoting and developing the Fintech and Insurtech sector in Portugal. And to do so, AFIP produces and disseminates information. It does networking and lobbying. And among its members, one can count banks, insurance companies, startups, tech entrepreneurs, IT companies, consultants, and VCs, amongst others. Okay, Hugh has already been presented, so I will move on to Gustavo just to say a bit more about Ageas. Okay, Gustavo is head of distribution and marketing, agents and brokers channel at Ageas Group Portugal. Most of you will know Ageas is an international insurance group with headquarters in Brussels. It is present in 14 countries in Europe and Asia. And in Portugal, one will know the Ageas Group through the brands of Ageas, Occidental, Medis, Seguro Direto. And just one last point to say that Ageas is also, has many distribution channels, but amongst which 2,700 agents and advisors. So now moving on to Steve, who is the host of our session today. Steve Fogue is co-founder and CEO of Particeep. Particeep being a fintech that offers turnkey solutions for the distribution of insurance, banking, and investment products. Particeep was created in 2013, has a team of some 30 people to provide in 2 to 6 weeks solutions to customers around Europe, America, and the Middle East. Finally, João Cardoso Deus. Okay, he was presented as CEO and co-founder of Lovys. A few words about Lovys. You will know that it is a 100% digital, all-in-one and flexible insurance provider in Europe. So Lovys creates every product it sells, but it then relies on solid insurance partners and reinsurers to cover the risk of these contracts. They look to cover all of your insurance needs through one single interface and one single monthly subscription. So to start off with the first topic of our roundtable, the agent or advisor's role in a digital world, I'd like to start asking Hugh, who has a global perspective. Hugh, is the evolution of the agent's role different from one country to the other, or is it a global trend, and the difference is more where a country stands in this evolution?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think the short answer is it does vary quite significantly by countries, right? Because there's different regulatory environments and there are different conditions. So, for example, in Asia, you see that tied agency is much more popular, whereas you see in Europe a little bit more of a balance and quite a relatively larger independent financial advisory model. So I think those models differ. I think the technology aspects, right, and the digital stuff that we're going to discuss today, of course, is no respecter of boundaries, right? So then you look at the technologies, and I think some of the opportunities apply irrespective of whether you are a tied agency model or whether you're an independent model. I think the details of how you execute, of course, become quite challenging in some of the models where you're looking at independence, because they then have to look at investing in that technology themselves. Whereas with tied agency models, you've got the insurer who typically has more scale, who can invest in this as well. But I think some of the aspects, and be interested to see what the panel think, but I think some of the things around providing a digital presence for advisors, I think this is long overdue. And it's about insurers or brokers themselves putting themselves much more into that digital space and engaging with the tools that are available.
Okay, Well, indeed, maybe Steve can move on and tell us a bit how technology has changed distribution in this part of the world, being that technology has changed distribution in many industries, but more precisely in insurance, has it impacted it? Steve?
Yes, the technology has a huge impact on the insurance distribution. And if we look back from 5 to 10 years behind us, we can cite at least 5 key technologies that really impact the distribution of insurance. The first one is artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is really important because as we said previously, the customer experience is the key thing when we are talking about the insurance distribution. And by this way, the artificial intelligence is really useful because it can allow, for example, to adapt the pricing and to offer to the customer the right product that really fits its needs. And this leads to increase of subscription volumes. In addition, the artificial intelligence is already really important because it allows insurers to create more product that suits claims of the customer, so it makes several types of events insurable. The second key technology that really affect the insurance distribution is the blockchain. And well, the blockchain is really useful because it helps insurers to dematerialize the tax and to reduce the contract execution deadlines. And this leads to an increase of customer satisfaction. The third technology that is really important is the API. And as you know, we are today in the world of the open banking and the open insurance, and these trends really impact the way of how insurance products are distributed. And on Particeep side, we develop a deep expertise in this area with our product plug because this can help the insurers to digitize their offer. So by this way, they can use the API to allow third-party vendors, for example, to access their product in a secure way. And they can use this no-code solution in order to deploy in less than 1 month and without any IT development, subscription paths on the site and on those of the distributors. So our vision with this API technology is to make any site or application a kind of digital point of sales of insurance products. So this is a key trend, and Particeep is taking part of that. And the last one is the big data and the connected object. As you know, well, we have right now a proliferation of connected objects, and this big data technology is really important because it is used to create a kind of value added to the end customer. For example, we have a use case like the pay how you drive for car insurance, for example. So the better you are driving, and the better price you can get on your premium insurance.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for those insights. Jean-Paul, can you maybe tell us a bit what is the impact of the digital age on client centricity at the agent advisory level, namely in Portugal?
Okay. I wish to start by thanking Particeep for its kind invitation for me to participate in this webinar. It's a pleasure to listen to the distinguished speakers and also to contribute my point of view. Regarding client centricity, we should begin by acknowledging that this is a core paradigm of the digital transformation era, with many players aiming to capture the rewards of owning the client relation. Client centricity implies a number of consequences in terms of targeting the end customer that highly reflect upon the role of the agent or advisor. One such consequence is the segment of one concept, which applies to various dimensions ranging from risk assessment and pricing to psychosocial profiling. The segment of one concept entails new implementation of operational marketing tools and processes for companies that decide to pursue such route. This implies greater flexibility and knowledge on part of the insurance agent or advisor, requiring more often than not a coordinated architecture, including human and technological interventions. Another major shift in perspective relates to client experience. The end customer currently expects to have access anywhere, anytime via whatever channels, agent, contact center, app, site, branch, whilst completeness and consistency of information must be ensured. The answer is the omni-channel approach, as it's been referred already, which implies a multiplicity of touch points and the increased frequency of interactions along the customer journeys. It presents various challenges and opportunities for agents and advisors. On one hand, when adopted correctly, it vastly enhances customer satisfaction and increases customer loyalty whilst optimizing cost effectiveness. On the other, there is the risk of the agent or advisor not being fully aware of the customer journey so far, therefore adopting inadequate responses to customer requests. Artificial intelligence is customarily required in order to assist the agent or advisor with next best action guidance. Thirdly, leveraging mobile and Internet of Things IoT technologies is also of particular importance to enact client centricity in the insurance space. Data and information thereof derived support the aforementioned dimensions, such as risk assessment and social demographics. Mobile and IoT technologies have also opened the way for an in-depth, continuous understanding of end customer behavior and profile, and of the risks inherent to a given coverage. This knowledge can now be leveraged to optimize commercial action, pricing strategy, and risk assessment and prevention, to name a few domains. Consequently, an agent is able to pursue cross-selling, upselling, and other sales initiatives with way more insight, higher probability of closure, and increased productivity. Regarding the Portuguese market, it's no exception, notwithstanding some peculiarities. It is quite receptive to technological innovation. Yet, one should keep in mind that there are disparate social demographic realities in Portugal, as if there were widely different markets coexisting in the same national geography.
Yes, okay. Thank you, João Paulo. I think you've mentioned various aspects here, multiple touch points, client experience, and that is a good following point to ask Gustavo about his point of view. I remember that in the TV program Imagens de Marca, which is brand image in English, your marketing director, Alexandra Catalan, mentioned that Ageas looks to create, I quote, an emotional experience for the client and to capacitate the agents in advisory sale. Can you elaborate a bit on this, Gustavo, please?
Yeah, of course. Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning special to my colleagues in the panel. And thanks for the invitation to Particeep. Well, coming to your question, indeed, well, our vision for Ageas in Portugal is indeed to bring emotions into insurance and to bring them to deliver a meaningful experience into people's lives. So it's a bit quite aspirational. So in that sense, all our activities are very much geared through this vision. And the way we try to do it is that we want to be relevant. We want to be present in people's lives. So that means that all our value proposition that we launch into the market have this into consideration. And I'd like to emphasize that we want to do it broader than only insurance, because as we all know, insurance is a service that is very much with a low frequency usage. So our objective is indeed to and it's part of our strategy to go beyond the insurance, introducing new elements that in some cases adjacent to the insurance value chain, but in other cases not so much, but relevant to customers. So an example for that has been, for example, the launch that we have made in the core of the lockdown of COVID last year, in April last year, where we launched a marketplace. And it's a marketplace called Mundo Ageas, where we put basically providers and customers looking for services in things varying from training to just construction at home or gardening or collection, whatever. So we just put basically people together, an ecosystem and a marketplace. And by that, what we intend is to be more present in people's lives. And where does the agent comes here in the loop is because we also always bring all these solutions with always having the agent in the loop and always having a role. So in this case, for example, they may invite their merchants, customers, to participate in this marketplace, and they also can promote that their individual customers also participate in it, and basically themselves can be present more often in people's lives beyond insurance themselves. So indeed, it's creating this ecosystem where the agent is always, of course, present, and where we can indeed have a core of its role, which is advisory of even in this digital environment that we want to promote. So this is just one single example. It's fully digital. The marketplace is fully digital, as you can imagine. So in that sense, although most of the agents have, a physical presence, but they are benefiting, and we are promoting that they benefit from this digital ecosystem. And in fact, we are building and designing a world, a relationship with our agents that comes from, the traditional linear perspective, which is, B2B2C with the insurance intermediary and customers, to a more virtuous triangle of relationship where we have the insurance company, the customer, and the agent, but all working in a very engaging way, benefiting everybody and all the stakeholders in order to bring indeed more meaningful and emotional experience to customers.
Okay, indeed. So you are looking to have everybody involved and be very present and multiply the contacts, while in the past the insurance was just knocking at the door at the time of payment of the premium or whenever there was a claim. Okay, so that's a good way to do it. João, Lovys is 100% digital. I mean, I suppose that's how you try to get to the agent. But can you tell us a bit where the advisor fits in your business model and what is his role?
Definitely. I mean, first of all, I think we need to give a step back, because I think we hear a lot the word digitalization in insurance. And I think typically the way digitalization is used is fundamentally flawed. And what I mean with that is people think about digitalization in a way that is, how can I do what I'm doing today, but through technology? And what we feel at Lovys is that, and we say it out loud, is that we don't believe in that digitalization when discussed that way, because I think what is incredible about technologies is that they enable us to do things fundamentally different. So when you look at Lovys, our value proposition is completely different. I mean, in the sense that what we are doing is moving the client away from that logic of buying products to a logic where he's in the center, where he has a single monthly subscription for all his insurance needs that is flexible, that evolves with their needs. And I think that's the challenge, is not to digitalize something that exists, but is to leverage on technology to completely reshape the experience that the client has. We find very, very funny that in France, the press calls it the Netflix of insurance. And I think that's fundamentally the challenge, is to really draw experience that are completely new. I understand that for traditional carriers, that is way more complex, because there is not only a tech legacy, but more important, an institutional legacy that makes it fundamentally different and difficult to rethink the whole model and the whole experience of the user. In our case, when we think about that element of our role as an advisor, we think about it in a very holistic perspective. I mean, I find it very interesting that in the past, when we used to buy electronics, we would need to buy, it would always come with manuals that would be like 300 pages long. Now we have all the sorts of new electronics and mobile phones, and we don't need those manuals because the products, in a way, are super transparent on the way they work. They are super transparent. And in a way, for us, that's the challenge, is to really make the journey of the user, the product, extremely transparent, extremely, in a way, self-explanatory. But of course, if you ask me, but is a client able to speak with someone? Of course he is, but I think that's not the challenge. The challenge is really to create a product that throughout experience he says, wow, this is amazing. This is super clear. I understand. And that he can have the answer to basic questions without even making the question. I mean, if we think about the average user, for example, in France, that is the market where we are, the average family in France has 4.3 contracts, pays more than 2,000 euros per year in insurance. If I make that question to a family, no one has the answer of exactly a number of contracts, how much do they pay, if they are well or not well covered. And this is what we came in, and we want to give those answers, not with an advisor on the phone, but by them simply through our solution. They should have all those answers. They should have all those solutions.
Okay, so make it transparent to everybody to know what they have as insurance covers and be as well, not have the need of an advisor if not necessary.
What I mean is that the advisor is much larger than that, and we believe that everyone is fulfilling that role of advisor, but especially the product in the way it is built. That's the best advisor is create a product that is super transparent, is very intuitive, and the customer doesn't feel that he needs to speak with someone because things are not clear. Of course, we also have a customer success team, but the way we see it is that if clients get in contact with us is because something was not well done.
Okay, well, I mean, that brings up about our poll. That is a very good connection. I think Sultana has a poll that she can show us a question. Yes, which is, which channel do you prefer to communicate or interact with your insurer? If you can please select so that we can have an idea of the answer of our audience. I will do the same. So just give a few more seconds for people to answer that. While we go maybe on to a question of the audience precisely. I have here a question which is the level of digital maturity of the Portuguese agents? Do you think the Portuguese distribution market is ready for making the digital step? Who would like to answer that among the panel? Anybody?
I can just give you my experience because at Ageas we have been trying to promote more and more digital into our agents and to the agents in the market, and we have indeed completely different levels. And for example, in the last conference that we made, the first conference we did last year, it was still a physical conference. It was the last physical conference we made, and we had more than 1,000 agents participating, and we did, a lot of topics and about this. And at the end of the session, I had the opportunity to talk with some of them, and you had really a completely wide range of opinions and of feelings. And we have, the early adopters that really want to be more present, and they're requesting us, to support more and more, even to train their teams. It's something we didn't cover today, but I think it's fundamental for the agents, especially the more traditional ones, to engage is to leverage on the existing teams to make them more present in this digital space. And then I had one on the opposite side that said, well, okay, I'm done. This is no longer for me, and I need to rethink my future because this is not something no longer for my time. So he was probably thinking about selling his portfolio. So indeed, I think there is a wide range. What I say is that there are successful ways to be on the digital spaces, but in my perspective, and I've been quite assertive on some aspects of some presence of agents in the digital landscape, which I don't think is the correct way to do it, which is based only on price. And that I think it's a wrong way to do it, because they are only promoting price. And I told you, well, okay, you are just promoting that you will be replaced very soon. I think it's the role of an advisory, as we say here today. It's more indeed to go beyond the mere price and try to build value propositions customized to the customer, to the family, and designing these with more or less technology, but that should be their purpose. That's their purpose in insurance. So I think that's that I would like to say. If the agents only looking for trying to have a quick sale without any advisory, that's the end of the agent in my perspective.
Okay. Well, precisely to rebound a bit on that, Steve, in a tech-enabled distribution, is the agent or advisor's figure still prominent, or does he fade away to the benefit of the insurance brand?
I think as it was said before, the role and the mission of the agent have to be changed, and they have to find a new way of bringing a value added to the end customers. As you know, today, customer loyalty is a key point when we are talking about distribution, and the customer loyalty really depends on the level of price competitiveness of the offer you have to bring to the client. And by this way, the role of the agent today is not only giving the price to the client, but also be able to anticipate the needs of the clients and be able to offer a kind of 360 product that can help the end customer to be covered. So I think the market will move on a kind of a customer-centric distribution on standardized product when the customer can subscribe in full autonomy. But when we are talking about a more complex product, by this way, I think you have a value added of the agent.
Okay, so basically it will depend on the complexity of the product. If it is more or less tailored, more or less complex, and the more complex and where there is advice needed, the agent or the advisor will continue to have a big role, facilitated by technology. Okay, well, thanks for that. Maybe can you show us the result of the poll, Sultana? Okay, well, so we have as preferred channel, 77% is digital, 11% telephone, and physical. Okay, so I think it a bit shows that we are going indeed in a digital orientation world, but with still some necessity of having some contacts by the more traditional means that are facilitated by digital, I suppose. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Sultana. Moving on to our second topic. Time is going by. We don't want to run over time. So in our first part of the conversation, we spoke about the agent and the distribution that needed to be assisted by technology. Now we will see what's the enablers of to facilitate this distribution, digital distribution are. To start off, Hugh, I'd like to ask you, can you tell us how tech enables insurance distribution and if there are main categories of solutions?
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. It's quite an interesting panel discussion. And actually, before I answer that question, I'm just going to put a plug in for people again, right? Because I really do believe that insurance advisors will be needed in the future. And although the physical element might reduce, it's not about the amount of physical interaction. It's when you have that physical interaction on key moments of truth. And of course, a lot of that, as we've seen in COVID, can increasingly be done on a virtual environment, but it still has a critical component about trust, and people can deliver trust in a way that technology struggles a little bit at times. So just moving on, I guess, to the technology side, right, and categorization. Everyone probably has their own different mental model of different technologies. I tend to look at technology in the distribution space by just looking at the value chain of the sales process, right? So you can look at engagement, you can look at advice, you can look at preparing a solution, and then you can look at the application process if you're looking at the core sales function and client development function. And clearly we're seeing a lot of innovation in all of these areas. The one, that I was talking and just emphasizing the engagement side, there are enormous opportunities that are open now because there's so much more technology, so many more different social media channels. And actually, we're really just scratching the surface of how we can use content to engage with customers. And that's a key thing. And when you look at a digital process, this issue of developing trust with a customer becomes absolutely critical, right? So when you start looking at that customer journey, you need to build in explicitly how you can build trust with customers as they go through that journey. And generally speaking, that's allowing customers choice, allowing customers to decide how and when and if they want to engage. But the awareness end of the funnel, using content to build awareness, I think is a key area. And some technologies are emerging now that help insurance companies to do that as well. And insurance companies are developing some of their own bespoke programs in this area and sort of stepping up to the plate and saying, actually, we can help insurance advisors in this area. We can allow them to have the space to build their own personal brands alongside the insurance brands. And it's those two, when you get them right, I think are very, very powerful. And that's what customers, I think, want. So I kind of agree this isn't a price game. And even from a business perspective, only a few models can be successful if you go price only and only certain product lines. I think insurance is inherently complex. And when you get that complexity, you need to deal with it, right? In a digital world, it's tough, but if you can do it well and give customers choice, and technology is allowing us to do that. And there's so many, I mean, I could talk about all the different technologies for ages, but I'm aware we don't have that much time. So
no, we don't. Okay, well, thanks for those perspectives. Indeed, you mentioned that it was important to also engage at the right moment, Hugh. Precisely. I think that insurance is moving from a lead generation model to more of a customer engagement model. And Steve, can you tell us a bit what you think are the key drivers regarding precisely the distribution of insurance?
Yes, for sure. As you know, historically, the insurance was distributed by intermediaries, by agents, and by brokers. And we have experienced two main revolutions in the insurance industry. The first one in the late 60s was the disintermediation. So is the way that we are moving from distribution through intermediary to a kind of self-care distribution or self-care subscription. And the other one, the other main revolution on the insurance distribution was the customer-oriented approach that leads to the development of the e-insurance in the late 2000 and right now to the digital insurance. And these two revolutions on the disintermediation and on the customer-oriented approach in the insurance industries really change the way the insurance is distributed. So gradually, we move from the distribution with an intermediary to a distribution without an intermediary, to white label distribution, to multi-distribution, and now we are talking about multi-channel distribution. So and when we look, we just try to analyze the different shift between this mode of distribution. We can see three key elements that favoring this change in distribution model. The first one, and I previously talked about it, is the customer loyalty, because right now the subscription is sometimes a matter of price. And while we know that insurer, for example, in France, just created a kind of digital company in order to sales to have better price. So we have it, for example, in real estate insurance. The second one is the emergence of new technology, because sometimes website was only used to present the offers, but now website is our point of sales, and with the emergence of the marketplace, we are seeing that a website is right now the place where you can sell insurance. And the last one is just the emergence, as I said, of multi-channel trends with a kind of bridge between the physical distribution and the digital distribution, with the digital distribution for more standardized product and the physical distribution for much more complex product when you need to have a kind of tailor offer to bring to the client.
Okay. Okay, so that is a good evolution there, a good list of the evolution that we went through. And João, what would you say are the key relevant factors regarding distribution tech enablers in Portugal?
Okay. An error we often witness is tech transformation being assessed largely for its own sake, but with little or no consideration paid to either purpose or critical contextual factors. Starting with purpose, one must not lose sight of the underlying trends in the insurance business model in what respects its relation with end customers. Firstly, in terms of the underlying trends, risk prevention versus claim settlement only is rising as one of the pillars of a win-win partnership with end customers, be it consumers or corporates. Second, the insurance experience value chain is increasingly intertwined with a wider range of ecosystems that focus upon client needs. For example, embedding insurance sales in holiday when the customer is acquiring holidays, or smartphone acquisition experiences illustrates this point. Such trends impact the role of the agent or advisor in a multitude of manners, and consequently distribution tech enablers. To begin with, the role of agent or advisor is now performed by a plethora of new actors. In Portugal, there is a legal definition of PDEAD, people directly involved in activity or distribution. For instance, we now have situations where an actor involved in a value chain previously separate from the typical insurance business, such as a bank account manager, is now able to offer an insurance policy specifically related to the product he or she is selling. Moreover, we also have previously outside actors now striving to act as agents. One such case is illustrated by some healthcare providers currently selling health insurance products. Another such impact has got to do with the end customer's expectation that the insurer, or its agent for the matter, provides advice, at least regarding how to minimize the risks to be underwritten and consequently the premium associated with the coverage thereof. One can easily imagine relevant advice opportunities, such as burglar alarm, as a means to prevent theft. Moving on to context, so I've spoken about purpose. The other is context. An example is the challenge that legacy organizations are presented with. By legacy, I'm referring to established organizations with strong non-tech cultures and non-tech savvy staff, in contrast to nimble startups keen on tech adoption and full of tech-minded people. Cultural transformation and knowledge management are key relevant factors to the success of most digital initiatives in legacy organizations. Nevertheless, such factors are often underrated when embarking on tech-focused upgrades to insurance distribution. Another example of context factors often not fully acknowledged is the business model impact of technological change, be it in terms of the financial business case fundamentals, be it regarding the effort required to build an optimized ecosystem. Again, such a factor is not intrinsically of the tech nature, but nevertheless conditions the outcome of the envisaged tech transformation, namely in the case of insurance distribution. Portugal being a country where the overwhelming majority of gross written premia are mediated, the prospect of tech enablers impacting distribution, causing unexpected consequences, and upending the balance between the roles of the various players cannot be disregarded. So we have a lot of work to do.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. But okay, on the other hand, Gustavo, just to provide tech or the new tools to the agents might not be sufficient. I mean, how do you engage the agents in this transformation journey?
Well, it's a great question. It's not easier said than done, to be honest. But let me share with you our path. We have came, of course, from an initial stage, which was more awareness. Okay, we're becoming, you know, putting more and more the topic in the agenda. Then we also engage more in training in different perspectives on the content, on how to be successful, what to do, what not to do. We also try to build, you know, some assets, namely microsites for agents, but also making sure that we build content so that they can share in their own social media, their sites, etc. And by we are leveraging also in terms of building, you know, some more. We spoke today on an omni-channel, but sometimes I prefer the concept of opti-channel, meaning that it's the customer that opts if he wants to go physical. We've seen that today in this panel, in the participants, people were saying, well, some were physical, others it's telephone, others video. So it's in fact an option for the customer. So we need to bring this, in my perspective, more into the go-to-market solutions, and we need to be present. And what we need to do is, for example, allowing for the agent to start a conversation, a physical conversation, then promote that the agent can, you know, at home consult the email that he has seen, or the WhatsApp message, whatever that he has seen with his family or her family, and then based on that conclude the sale afterwards by phone or by digital or through a link. And this can be done, for example, also in the other way around, where the customer starts the journey in the website of the agent or in the website of the company, but then at a certain point in time, he said, okay, I would like to have now a more a professional and a judge experience. And by the way, your agent nearby is this one that not only nearby, but that fits more with your profile, using some more analytics and eventually even artificial intelligence to understand what is the best advisory fitted to that customer. And then he can put the agent can have a role there. So there are a myriad of solutions that we can leverage on technology. And I think indeed a lot of the, for example, even security topics, even GDPR, etc., we can build solutions that can cope with all these regulations. I see that was one of the questions. I think all of this is possible, but the key is trust, and trust, and I answered that in the chat, comes with perceived value. So I can only be able to get my customers or potential customers to share their data if they see value from it. So all these things about that Steve was mentioning about connected Internet of Things, etc., working, for example, in insurance, not only in the typical protection, but also on the preventive. So, for example, in Malaysia, we have one insurance that we pay the insurance claim for a travel insurance even before, because of a delay in flight, even before the flight lands. You know, because we use external data, we know that the customer because he shared that he was having that flight. So immediately when he lands, he opens his mobile and he sees, okay, well, we have reimbursed because your account because indeed the flight was delayed. So we keep our promise, and so this is the type of things that we can use with technology. And of course, having the agent in the loop, the agent can always, after this, also be warned, and then also send a nice message. Welcome back to, I don't know, Singapore, whatever. I hope you had a safe travel. As you have seen, the insurance company has reimbursed your flight because of the delay. You see the power of this, always having the agent on the loop, and the insurance company as a facilitator of this journey in this, what I spoke about, the virtuous triangle between insurance agents and customers.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Gustavo. I like your parallel with the Opti-travel. I mean, you're right. It is Omni, but Opti, it is the choice of the customer. So I really think it's a good parallel. Well, you spoke of how to accompany the customers and the agents in this transformation journey. How about Lovys, João? You offer a fully digital insurance experience. Is there a difference on how this experience, this digital experience, is accepted depending on the branch or channel?
I mean, I think we are obliged to have a very different way of onboarding clients. If we are talking about health insurance, car insurance, or home insurance, they are fundamentally different products. And so the work as advisor and the way we explain the product needs to be fundamentally different. Having said that, I think personal lines as a whole, I think it's fully ready, and the clients are fully ready to buy and to have a fully digital experience. I understand that commercial lines is a different reality, and I don't have experience in commercial lines, but what I can attest is from a personal line standpoint, we don't see any limitation whatsoever. And I think one thing that for us is even overwhelming is to see that the conversion rates can be extremely high when we are talking about different products and personal lines. I can give you some reference points, but for example, for home insurance, that is a product that is more developed, we can go all the way up to 40% conversion rate of someone that saw a price at Lovys and buying the product. So what we see is that the clients are absolutely ready to have an experience online. I saw that there were also some questions regarding why we don't launch other products in Portugal. And the way we see it these days is that European insurance market is quite interestingly, the regulations are quite harmonized between countries, and I think similar to what we saw in Fintech, in which players like Revolut and N26 created platforms that are pan-European. I think that exactly the same will happen in insurance, and the objective of Lovys is likewise to really become pan-European. At the moment in Portugal, we have a very limited presence, and we hope to expand our product read in Portugal. I mean, we haven't done so as of yet for a very good reason, simply because following the COVID, our growth in France was much higher than we have anticipated. So we have, in a way, had the need to double down our efforts in the French market, just because the growth was very, very high. But we want to expand beyond France as soon as possible. Okay.
Well, thank you for that. We have here a question from the audience, which is, how can insurance product add value to the customers if most of them don't know exactly what they are subscribing? Who wants to answer?
I mean, I can answer that. I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think that's a fundamental flaw of the insurance market, is that, and that was one of the elements that created a lot of mistrust in the industry. I think we need to make sure that when the client subscribes for something, that he clearly understands what is protected for, what is not even protected for, and we also need to make sure that he can easily adapt the product so that he has always something that corresponds to his needs. I mean, in the case of Lovys, for instance, one of the ways that we do that is by being absolutely flexible. So a client can cancel any contract with Lovys whenever he wants. There is not that to annual commitment. No, I mean, the client, I mean, this is part of our promise, is that he should be able to really have a protection that follows his needs and not the other way around. I mean, the insurance should be dynamic by definition, because our lives are also dynamic. And we could see that a lot with the COVID, in which the needs of the people changed a lot. And so they came to Lovys and they changed the policies. And I think that's how things are meant to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, thanks
Vincent,
for that.
let me build a bit on what João is saying. I also agree very much, and I think that and COVID was indeed a nice a nice test for that, because, for example, we've seen that, for example, in our case, we have extended cover without the customers requesting us. So we just said, okay, well, we have, for example, some restaurants that suddenly had to adapt their business model to delivery away, and it was not covered. And so immediately, proactively, still in the month of March, this started, I recall that we started on the 13th of March, 2020, and still on the month of March, we were even going online with the media campaign, saying that all our restaurants customers were already covered with if they needed to their employees needed to go and deliver and would have an accident, for example, or the third party liability. So this is a type also for the doctors. We have also extended the COVID disability. So I think this is it's part of also of all the actors in the insurance industry to indeed have this ethical and also sustainable and way of doing, so that indeed our industry can indeed already place a fundamental role, but more and more a fundamental role on this adapting indeed a more dynamic cover to customers' lives.
Okay, thanks, Gustavo. And precisely, we have here another question that is a bit linked to that, to how the industry is evolving the trust, which is, how do we overcome the challenge of, one, customers' trust in sharing data to insurers, and two, ecosystems partners' trust in sharing data of their customers, potentially in an aggregated view, to insurers. Gustavo, I think that's a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I answered that in the chat. In my perspective, it has to do everything with the value that you bring into the equation. As I said, the example I provided on the flight delay, I think it's a great example, saying, okay, shall I share which flight am I taking? Well, but if I don't take, I will not be reimbursed even before I claim. If I'm able to share this, okay, I will benefit from this. The same happens with telematics or with the IoT. Okay, if I engage and I'm providing, okay, how many steps I'm taking, and I'm having benefits from my health insurance or from life risk insurance, it's all about the value, the intrinsic value that this generates. And of course, we cannot forget, it should be always done in a very ethical way, a transparent and ethical way, always respecting the GDPR, of course. That's out of questions.
Okay,
I'd like to add another perspective, is that regarding the customer data, and that the insurer or the agent may be also on the acquiring end of data. So many organizations are now monetizing data on their customers, and certainly there is data that is of very interesting for insurers in order to better assess risk. And so it may be the case that the insurer is also acquiring data, not only selling it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I think indeed it is all a matter of trust. A lot of things, be it physical or be it digital, is around trust, and it's making sure that the customer feels that they are being respected and trusted, and the confidence is also necessary in some parts. So I think that comes or leads us to the wrap up. Sultana, do you want to
Yes, of course. Yeah. So thank you so much for this inspiring and interesting debate. And please don't go away yet because we have two brief announcements to make. And also we will share with you a feedback survey. So you can tell us what do you think about this webinar. So Vincent, I know that you have launched a newsletter called Digital Insurance Portugal. Can you please tell us more about it?
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Salta. Well, Digital Insurance Portugal is a quarterly newsletter that I edit, in which I invite people. João, Paulo, Matos has already done an article in that newsletter, and also I've had articles on Ageas and others. Of course, and that is yes, a quarterly newsletter. The next edition will come out in May. It is published in the TDI platform, that is the digital insurance platform, and in that newsletter we will cover cyber insurance. We'll have a dossier on cyber insurance, which is a theme that is very much a topic of the day, as well as an Insurtech analysis. So don't miss it.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to add something else, or?
No,
okay, thanks. And here I'm curious about the TDI Academy. Can you tell us more about this academy?
Yeah, thanks, Altana, for giving me a little bit of an opportunity to provide a bit of information on the TDI Academy. So we realized a couple of years ago that we had this knowledge on our website. We had great connections in the industry, and that no one was really trying to do a formalized learning and development program on digital insurance. So we started to do this in the sort of middle of 2019 in pre-COVID days. Fortunately, we took a digital first approach. So we've been fairly successful. We've got 56 hours of on-demand online content available anytime, anywhere around the world, which we think gets its arms around this subject matter. And then we're able to present that in different formats. We've got a little mini MBA, which people do over 7 months. Other people can consume it in their own time. And then we have corporate versions as well. And we're making quite good progress as well on translations and also partnerships. So we have a partnership in Latin America, and we do a program there in Spanish. We're just completing our translations of our videos into 11 languages. Portuguese is covered as well, and then in due course we'll also do some of the decks as well. So exciting. And if you're interested in this topic of digital insurance, you want to look at it from a slightly academic but also very practical use case perspective. It's designed for the insurance industry, and an opportunity to think about the future and also understand more what's going on around the world. So that's something I think you're going to have a little poll, and we'll get in touch with anyone who might want a bit more information on that, or you can look on our website as well.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Hugh. Thank you, Vincent, for moderating the debate. Thank you, João, Paulo, Gustavo, Steve, and João for sharing with us your experience. And big thanks to the audience also. And we hope that we have brought you some perspectives and insights. And please note that all this webinar is recorded. So I will send you in a few days a link with the whole replay. So before going, please, I will share with you in 2 seconds the survey about your feedback. It will take just 10 seconds, I think. So I will launch it now. Okay. Well, I would also want to give big congrats to Particeep for the initiative of this webinar on a topic that is very much the topic of the day. So thank you, yes, Particeep. Thank you to all the panelists that did indeed accept to share their experience. It was a very interesting webinar. I liked it a lot. I hope everybody did. And well, thanks again. And yes, to the audience, thank you for being there. And please do fill in the survey that is now on your screen, and talk to you some other time. Thank you.